Good morning and welcome to the Toronto Sports Rush channel here on the Bet Rivers Network, on YouTube, and probably a whole bunch of other places. I think it's just about everywhere. My name is Kyle Andrew. I am joined, of course, by Mr. Dan O'Toole. Dan, we witnessed yesterday the equivalent of Major League Baseball Bigfoot. Kevin Gossman threw a complete game shutout.
Kevin Gossman was the next man up in line for the Toronto Blue Jays, and he stepped up, filled the role, and it's very strange. We were just talking before we went on here how complete games are so uncommon when you look back at past years. And producer Tim brought up the stat of Dave Steve had over 100 complete games in his career, and this was Kevin Gosman's fourth. This was his fourth, and Dave Stieb had over 100. But it's also was a different time, Kyle. That's when they didn't really care how many pitches a pitcher threw, and they didn't care if his arm fell off. So they take much better care of athletes now. So that is the trade-off.
I wonder about that sometimes too, because there seems to be a lot more arm injuries, or are we just actually acknowledging them now? Because, obviously velocity's up, spin rate's up, and I know that snap is part of the elbow problems, but you almost wonder if they were better off before with the higher work rates. I genuinely don't know, but it was a pleasure to see that. There was probably a lot of people in the crowd that have never witnessed a complete game, certainly not a complete game shutout, at the exact moment when the Jays needed a performance like that.
Yeah, and they needed to stay the heck away from the bullpen after Jeff Hoffman blew another one after the Jays came back on Tuesday night. But getting back to the pitchers, I think it's just a case of the injuries are related to pitchers throwing harder. They're
Yeah.
putting more strain on their arms. Not that the guys way back when didn't throw hard, but it's not at the velocity that we see now. Like we had guys like Jimmy Key and Jamie Moyer back in the day when they top out at like mid 80s.
Yeah.
That's what they topped out at. And guys now routinely are mid to high 90s. That's their lowest velocity at the end of their pitches. So it's a strain on their arms, which is causing the injuries. But yeah, there seems to be a lot of Tommy John surgeries these days.
A
A
lot of it.
lot.
Well, it's exactly what you just said. We had the Roger Clemens, the Nolan Ryans before. Now, literally everybody throws that hard. It's crazy. 100 miles an hour is not a crazy thing anymore.
No.
Every team has at least a couple of guys that can hit triple digits. It's pretty remarkable.
You know what? Speaking of the golden year or the past years of baseball, we don't hear any weird things because you mentioned Roger Clemens, and I always remember this about Roger Clemens, aside from the steroids and stuff, was he would on the day of his start, lather his entire body in Tiger Balm. If you've ever used Tiger Balm, it burns
Yeah.
wherever you put it on.
Yeah, it
And
does.
he would put it on his entire body. We don't hear those stories about guys now. We don't hear Zanius, Buck Martinez, Pedro, no, Dennis Martinez of the Expos. He used to have a wad of chewing tobacco and baseball gum that was the size of a baseball that he would chew during his starts. That was an oddity. We don't have the oddities in baseball now. I miss those.
Yeah, baseball was kind of the hallmark of the game that every team had a couple of those weirdo type of guys with weird superstitions, weird pregame rituals,
Bill
weird
Spaceman Lee
behavior.
did acid.
Yeah, literally, Dwight Gooden didn't Doc Gooden throw a no-hitter while he was on acid?
His would have been another substance. The cocaine.
Right. Well, you're not allowed to do that anymore. Baseball players just can't have fun. No steroids, no coke. It's a shameful, shameful league. But it's a league that, they have their oddities and stuff. But it's crazy. You don't hear any of this stuff in a time when every move every player makes is exposed 24/7. Maybe they're just all afraid to let that kind of stuff out of the
Oh
bag.
yeah, they're all introverted. They go to the park, then go home. They don't do anything else. Same with hockey players. Same with basketball players. The days of
Yeah.
uh, the Blue Jays players going down to King Street after a game where I would literally run into players in seedy bars. That doesn't happen anymore because of the phones,
Yeah.
because of what would be said. If they are in a bar, then the immediate speculation, "Ah, I saw him, he was drunk," even though the guy may have just been standing there. So, yeah, they don't wanna put that out there. But those Blue Jays, a very timely win, and now they have the Orioles coming to town. Kyle, I don't like these matchups. These Blue Jays teams do not play good against bad teams. They play great against good teams. They play bad against bad teams, and I hope that trend finally ends as the Orioles are last in the AL East.
Well, here's the thing though, and this might be exceptional timing if your theory holds true. The Orioles are one of the hottest teams in baseball
Yeah,
right now,
hey,
which is, 8-2 in their last 10. They are the last place team in the AL East, that's for sure. But they're playing now like the team people thought they might have been for the whole year. It could have been a fluke. I mean, they just swept the Pirates, and like I once played in a softball team that could sweep the Pirates if you avoid Skeens. But they're coming in fairly hot, which might work to the Jays' advantage in this scenario because, as you say, they've got that same thing the Yankees do where they don't play well against teams that are significantly worse than them. But right now, the Orioles are a bit of world beaters. And hopefully, we get a little bit of that first part with a little bit of Orioles regression, or, a little bit of, I'm overhyping this a bit because they just beat the snot out of the Pirates, which is they're kind of snotless to begin with. The Yankees held serve last night, beating a very good Tigers team. They do the same thing as the Jays. But the Orioles are coming into town. Their best pitchers on the mound tonight, I believe.
who
Tim,
is that? Who is the
Tim,
Orioles'
double check
best
who's
pitcher?
starting.
Please tell me.
Yeah, well, Rogers, he's 8-2 with a 151 ERA.
Kenny Rogers? Kenny
Yeah,
Rogers is
yeah, yeah,
back?
yeah. The gambler. So Trevor Rogers, 6'5" lefty.
Ah,
He's the
sounds
Jason
made up.
lefty. It is. I don't believe this MLB.com and their fake news. So okay, the Jays the Jays have the Orioles tonight. Something interesting happened after last night's game, and I want to circle back to it a little bit because it speaks to where they're headed as a team. Our friend, our boy, a guy who you talk to every week, Mr. Keegan Matheson, he tweeted the following: "What a scene here after the Blue Jays win. No one's leaving. Nearly the entire stadium is still standing and watching Kevin Gossman's post-game interview with the Hazel May, at the Hazel May. That's her
That's
handle on
awesome.
X. Isn't that something like an afternoon game on a Thursday? It seems like the city, maybe a little too late for my taste, is all in on these guys right now. And it just feels almost like Kevin Gossman's performance last night came at such a crucial time for the team with Bichette out for probably another week or so, give or take. And, them trying to hold off two very good teams in the Yankees and Red Sox.
My aunt and uncle were at Tuesday's game, the come from behind victory, where they won it with a walk off in the 10th. And they said from the 8th inning on, they didn't sit down and they go to like a handful of Jays games a year. They said
Sure.
they'd never seen it like that. They said it was louder than they'd ever heard it. That was the first time anyone was ever standing during the game, during play. So yeah, they felt it. That was palpable. And I love this. I love
Yeah.
that people have baseball fever. I want to get back to the Orioles for a second
Yeah,
and
of course.
mention how they're last in the AL East. And if any league was going to steal what the Women's Hockey League is doing, it should be Major League Baseball because you are out of it so early because there's so many games. And what they do is once you're out of contention, then you start playing for points in order for a draft order. So if you compile 20 points after you're out of it and another team compiles two, they're like, well, they were tanking it, but you can't tank it here. You have to play better when you're out of it to get uh, draft order status. Major League Baseball, I hope they would consider something like that because that would add a new wrinkle and a new dread for a team like the Orioles coming to town. I don't want it right now because I don't want the Orioles playing for anything. I want
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Orioles to be like, eh. Although you do have guys playing for position spots next year's on teams that are out of it. You always have
Mhm.
people playing for a job, but it's something that baseball should also consider. And another thing they should consider, which would be the greatest thing in the history of baseball, you get one at bat. You get one at bat a game where a guy gets to use an aluminum bat. Seriously.
I love it.
Like there would be a there'd be a big announcement. This is the at bat. Vladdy steps up with an aluminum bat, and everyone's changing their channel whenever when the team chooses to go with their aluminum at bat. Everyone's switching to that game because they're like, I want to see if this guy launches it into another province.
I actually love that idea. It's like the golden ball in the home run derby. But
Yes, it would
here's
be
the
so awesome.
I have one very important immediate question. How the hell do we protect the pitchers? Because we're already at 120-mile-an-hour exit velocities.
Right.
That would be way into the 130s, I would think, at the
Yeah, the
major league
fans are
level.
protected because there's
There's
netting,
nets, yeah.
down the left and right field lines, but yeah, the pitchers, maybe you'd have to bring out the screen, I don't know, or yes, so we'd have to worry about the pitchers
Well,
because they could.
I don't wanna not do it. I don't wanna not do it. I love this idea, but, like, we'd be into the exit velos of 130 miles an hour, and O'Neal Cruz, someone like I wanna watch that guy. I think they should just switch to aluminum for the home run derbies.
Oh, yeah, that'd be
Or
sweet. Those
or
guys have
what if
protection, the pitchers in the, home run derby have a netting in front of them, so they're fine.
and it's usually their uncle. So
Yeah, it's like their uncle or their dad or their pitching coach from Little League, so they're fine.
I think
something worth noting about oh, sorry, go ahead, Tim.
I was just say there was video that went around. I think it was from a high school game recently, where a guy using a aluminum bat and the bat broke. It snapped off just above the handle when he hit the ball. And like the announcer was like, I've never seen that before.
Uh-oh, did
Oh,
anyone get injured?
it
No,
does happen.
but could you imagine in a major league baseball game, guy throws a 99-mile-an-hour heater and a
So, Tim, the
series
aluminum
of
bat
pitches off the bat?
idea, you are the voice of reason and you are also the no fun police. So, your thoughts on that and that being implemented in Major League Baseball?
I mean, they'd have to build bigger stadiums, right?
Okay.
No.
So
No. I wanna see people hit the back
No,
of the
it's
upper
one
deck of the
at bat a
stadium.
game. It's one at bat.
One a game.
yeah, seems a little gimmicky, but sure.
All right.
Wow. You were not kidding about the fun police thing. I wanna see 135-mile-an-hour exit velos and balls going through the restaurant in center field. Through it. Straight through that bulletproof glass.
Yeah, I remember old Windows, how they never dusted the top of the Windows restaurant
Yeah.
for 20 years. It was like 2 feet of dust. You'd look at it, you're like, you ever think maybe just clean it in the off season once? Nah, it's fine.
It's good. Just you do the same guy that does the windows of the hotel. I'm sure those got done. Is it still a hotel up there, by the way?
Oh, it sure is. I
Oh,
see
it is. Okay.
Instagram videos all the time.
Okay.
People showing what it's like to watch a game there. I've always
Yeah, is
wanted
that
to
what they're
do
showing?
that. I need to look into that.
Yeah, I wonder what the rooms are actually like. I'm sure they're horribly overpriced in today's
Oh,
sports
horribly
landscape.
overpriced for a game. But it'd be an experience.
Yeah, it would. It
Yeah.
would.
I,
So
I
this
stayed I
weekend,
stayed in one of those rooms once,
you did.
but
How was the
but
room?
but it was an off day, so there was no game. The room was just a hotel room. It was just a
Okay.
plain hotel room.
Okay.
But they were shooting a promo with Jose Bautista and Cabby for Sportsnet
Hmm.
that day. So I was standing at the window watching them shoot the promo.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, so the Jays have the Orioles this weekend. Very interesting series. Yankees and the Red Sox are playing this weekend, and I think from a statistical perspective, the best case scenario for the Jays would be for the Red Sox to take 2 of 3 because the Jays still have games left this season against the Red Sox, but they're done with the Yankees. That's a
Yep.
big series for the Jays.
Oh yeah, just beat the crap out of each other
Yes.
and hope. I think you hope for no one sweeping. You hope
Yeah.
for someone winning 2 of 3. But the Red Sox, we still have them coming to town. That's the last series of the season.
Could be huge.
Oh, this is what it's. Oh, this almost sounded like this is what it sounds like when doves cry. Um, Yeah, this is the perfect time of year. As I
It
said
is.
before, I'm a broken record. Just enjoy it. This is what
I
it's about. Watch the baseball with your kids. They might get into it now. They instead of walking past the TV and pausing for like 2 seconds, they might pause for five and then they might extend into 10 because that's what the snippets of attention span they have. I got a 30-second stop by during the J game yesterday.
wow.
30 seconds. That's a
Wow.
lot.
You're
Yeah.
you're this close to getting a dad. Will you be in my TikTok about the Blue Jays? And just one tear is rolling down your cheek as the pride just beams from you.
Yeah, I'm requested to be in the TikToks, but it's for dancing, and I think they do it because they know I will look like an idiot. So I say,
Hmm.
no, guys, I know what we're doing here.
That's definitely correct. Well, let's move across the province and out of the country and talk very quickly about the Buffalo Bills because we do have once again Todd Fuhrman coming on later in the show. Our
Furzy.
Furzy, an NFL betting expert, but the Buffalo Bills are preparing for a Week 2 matchup against. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what to make of the New York Jets right now, but I do know what to make of the Buffalo Bills. They showed a lot of resilience beating a very good Baltimore team last week, but man, your guess is as good as mine as what's going to happen with this Jets team on the weekend.
Bills should destroy them.
They
Like
should
plain
destroy
and
them.
simple, it's the Jets. It doesn't matter the year. It's the freaking New York Jets.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I'm just looking up very quickly right now. The Bills are minus 335 favorites. Of course, the over under on Bet Rivers is it's 47 right now. But the Jets put up 32. Someone confirm that? I think the Pittsburgh game, the Rogers Renaissance game last week was 34-32 for the Steelers.
The
And
Rogers payback game.
it was that was pretty good poetry on some level. However you feel about him, it's he looked pretty good in doing it. And I don't mind a New York Jets loss ever,
It was
but
Speak
34-32.
it was 34-32.
We were speaking of guys being on substances. Does Rogers have to get tested for ayahuasca before games?
Do you think it's banned?
I don't know if it is. It's like a psychotic mushroom, essentially, isn't it?
I don't actually know. It's some sort of plant-based hallucinant, like
Yeah, I had a
hyper
buddy who
hallucinogenic.
did it. He went on one of those retreats, and you puke for a couple hours, which that doesn't sound
Yeah,
pleasant.
not great.
And then you sit back and enjoy the ride. Um, yeah, he said he would do it again, but he never did.
Was it in Costa Rica?
It was somewhere, that's when I was living in LA, so it was probably out in, oh, Ojai. Ojai is the real hippie place.
Oh,
Not
okay, okay.
Ohio, Ojai. It's,
Far cry from Ohio. Definitely,
where you go
definitely
and
not
do
Ohio.
ayahuasca.
I was gonna say, like, I don't know. We could talk to Adam the Bull and see what the ayahuasca scene's like in Ohio, but I don't imagine there's a lot going on from spiritual connectedness perspective there. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the Bills should steamroll them. The spread's 6.5 right now. It's tough to make much of giving up all those points to the Ravens on Sunday night because they're also an exceptional NFL football team. So I don't really know how to get a read on this other than the fact that the Bills should be riding a big high and they are one of the NFL's elite teams.
Yeah, they escaped, an opening, game loss in dramatic fashion in which half the stadium left, and I do have a Ravens fan, that's a close friend of mine, Bernie Kim. If anyone, is familiar with our old Jay and Dan podcast, he, uh, he was one of our producers at Fox, and he is a diehard Ravens fan, and I was texting him yesterday. He is still not over that loss. To start the year like that,
Yeah.
to question everything about your team and wonder, how did you let that happen? While the Bills get to do the opposite. So, um, that's what makes the NFL season so interesting is that tight, tiny schedule.
Yeah, it really is. And tough for the Ravens too, because now they have the Chiefs this weekend, and they're never easy to play against. You have to play against Patrick Mahomes and all of Taylor Swift's fan base.
Yeah, yeah, it's the
Oh, the
the
Ravens have the
Chiefs.
Browns this weekend.
It's
My
the
mistake.
Chiefs
My
and
mistake.
Eagles.
That's right. Sorry, the
Chiefs
Chiefs
and
had the other.
Eagles, massive matchup. That's going to have
That's huge.
the eyes of the entire NFL world. Speaking of the NFL, I should point out I am wearing a shirt that is from the Travis Kelsey collection. This is a thing at American Eagle. So went in. My lady is employed by American Eagle, and she's like, "Look at this Travis Kelsey stuff," and I'm like, "I I like it. I like this stuff. I'll wear that." And what do you know? She pops that into the birthday gifts that I received. So I am funding the Kelsey Swift empire by wearing this shirt, and I have no problems with it.
Well, thank God, because they could definitely use the help. Here's a question: were you in the store for this? What's the in-store branding like?
Oh, he's sitting back in a chair with his big smile and he's wearing the gear and stuff. Um, so yeah, it's very prominent. You cannot not see it. So he got
Interesting.
paid and paid well. Whenever I see that, my mind always wonders, I'm like, okay, did he get a flat fee? Does he get a percentage of sales? Did he get a flat fee plus a percentage of sales?
Probably that.
So that's what you think?
Yeah, probably. That's
I
how those
love it.
deals normally work now. I'm fine with it too if he's pushing that directly. That's a nice looking shirt, Dan. I'll leave it at that. Like that's the
It's comfy. The reason I like it is because it's 100% cotton and yeah,
uh
it's perfect.
I've always enjoyed their clothes. So I want to quickly get to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Just a quote from Craig Berube because it's illegal for us to not discuss them on this show. Craig Berube said that he wants more from Max Domi, and I'm going to read the exact quote that appeared in The Athletic. I think he's a guy that played with Matthews in the past and has had success. He looks for Matthews and gets him the puck, and that's important. I think that Max could work there. It could work, but I think Max has to change just his mindset a little bit, playing with those guys on a consistent basis. Is that a critique or is that a motivating type of quote? What is that, Dan?
That's not a critique at all. That's just telling Max Domi point blank, play slightly different and you'll be on the top line. And Max Domi is a student of the game. He will hear that and say, no problem. I can do that. We actually talked about Max Domi at length last week when we were talking. No, it was this week. Time flies. When we were talking with Pierre McGuire, and I said, Max Domi should be getting more love than he gets because he has been one of the few Leafs that shows up game in, game out. So put Max Domi on that top line. I
Why not?
say, hell yeah.
Sometimes you got to hand the guy the ball to see how well he can run with it, right? You can't just speculate that he'd work there. Just let him try it. I think there's going to be a lot of line switching with the Leafs early in the season. If they don't try this combo, it's a huge mistake.
Max Domi will get the puck. Max Domi will get the puck when you think you've turned it over. A la the Edmonton Oilers in their cup run last year. They so many times turned the puck over, got it back. Max Domi and Matthew Nyes are the only Leafs who seem to want to try and do that. So if the Leafs got that mentality, it can stem from Max Domi. That's the way he plays. Bring that to the top line and make the changes that your coaches suggest.
Yeah.
I think that's a hell of a fit.
It is. It is. Okay, well, that's enough Leafs talk for right now because it's Friday. We're heading into a huge weekend on the NFL, a humongous slate of games. Things are starting to shake out. We're starting to get a better preview right now. So we're going to bring in NFL expert, better, and handicapper, Mr. Todd Fuhrman. Todd, how are you?
I'm doing well, gentlemen. But just to kind of put a button on some of that Leafs talk, I think Leafs fans are going to be impressed with Dakota Joshua and his contributions. For me, he feels like the consummate Craig Berube add to that roster that can have a little bit of that scoring punch. It can provide depth in the middle six. So I'm very interested to see how they elect to go setting up their top 9 forwards going into the season.
Todd, the biggest problem, and I point this out to Leafs fans every single year, I say, tell me who the last marquee goalie for the Leafs was. And they have to go, they're like, oh, Curtis Joseph. And I know the
We'll get a
game is
Felix
different.
Potvin reference somewhere in there,
Yeah,
too, as
Felix
well.
Potvin. I know the game has changed, but you still need that. And I think that is the thing the Leafs are missing is that marquee goalie.
So it's so interesting because I agree with you 100%. When you look at some of the netminders that have won Stanley Cups recently, I don't have to look much further than our backyard here when Vegas won with Aiden Hill and rewarded him with I thought was a more lucrative contract than he probably deserved. It's not like the old days where it's the volume of saves that we saw from the Patrick Waz and the Martin Brodeurs, although the left wing lock a little bit different. It's coming up with that timely save. You can win games in the playoff in the modern NHL 4-3, 5-4. But can you make that momentum stopping or momentum changing save? And to your point, we really haven't seen that from the Leafs, whether it was Joseph Woll or Anthony Stolarz. Maybe those guys are capable of answering the bell. Just ask Jets fans. They played a lot of low scoring hockey games, but they couldn't get the save when they needed it most, more often than not, from Connor Hellebuck.
And the guy who did make the save at the key moments, Sergei Bobrovsky.
The fact that this conversation's gone on this long without either of you mentioning Alan Bester is kind of disgraceful. But
Wasn't that a crazy time?
it was.
Like, they're on the wall behind me, like Mike Vernon, Alan Bester, Darren Pang.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking. Well, let's have the smallest guy on the ice be our goalie in the position you need to be the largest.
Why did they cut the holes in the leather on the blockers?
I had one of those.
Was it that much lighter? Like,
You just had to let it breathe. You didn't want all that water retention there and that thing to get soggy when you went on the road and had to play on those extremely soft sheets at the Chicago Stadium, Madison Square Garden, everything else. My favorite was the old school pads that you see in all the videos when those things did nothing but get waterlogged. I mean, I think of the first goalie pads that I had. The old school Coopers that looked like they were ugly brown with like the two-tone leather on the outside. First period, you felt like $1 million. You were fresh as a daisy. And those things weighed about an extra 17 pounds by the time you finished up.
Guys,
even playing mites back in the day.
I wore those pads. They were handed down to me. I had leather pads and the stuffing was horsehair. So they sopped up every single thing. So yeah. And if you were in a crouch to make a save and you got hit on the knee, you felt that.
Oh, there's no doubt. Trust me, Toolsy. I had a goalie coach who told me if you're not feeling the puck, you're not doing your job. I go, yeah, but that's not supposed to be because the equipment is complete crap. And I'm feeling every shot dinging off my collarbone and everything dinging off my kneecaps. I go, that's not going to have me coming back for more. But alas, started playing goalie when I was 8, played up through my junior year in college. So I guess they got me by hook or by crook.
All right, Todd, moving into the NFL, week 2 from a betting perspective. Week 1's always a bit tricky, right? Because we're not too sure. Offenses aren't running at full steam yet and whatnot. And at this point in the NFL season, there's really only one thing we're sure of, and that's that the Green Bay Packers are a very good football team. What else can we be starting to get more in focus going into this week 2 weekend?
Well, I just wanted to perform a wellness check on Toolsy's bankroll after all the unders that came home week 1. So the fact he's back here for this show, he probably had to go through all of his Aeropostale and American Eagle gift cards that he was given for his 50th birthday just to kind of outfit himself for the show. But this is always the overreaction week because we have one data point and you're not sure if teams are as good as they've looked in week 1 or if there are teams trending in the wrong direction. We know everyone is buying the Green Bay Packers in the wake of their second straight stellar defensive performance. Look, the Buffalo Bills, I think, have a lot of concerns, especially in that defensive backfield at the safety position, that if they're not able to slow down this Jets rushing attack, you're not going to hit the panic button, but you do worry about the potential ceiling that exists for them. And I think one of the other big storylines, it's rare that we go into week 2 of the season, at least during the Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes era, and there is legitimate concern that the Chiefs could be 0-2 and needing to try and channel their inner Baltimore Ravens from a season ago if they start the season in a little bit of a hole.
Kelsey, you'll have to start pumping the American Eagle gear a bit more. Hey, Todd, I want to point out the highest total from last week was Bills-Ravens. It flew over the number. The highest total this week is Bengals-Jags at 48.5. Does it do the same?
So this is, for me, guys, one of the most fascinating games of the weekend. And the reason I say that is because what we saw in the second half from the Cincinnati Bengals last week against the Cleveland Browns was nothing short of horrific. I mean, they finished with 7 total yards. And while I know the Browns defense is good with Myles Garrett, it's a little bit problematic. Now coming home, you have to imagine they're going to look slightly more dynamic with another week under Joe Burrow and company's belt. And on the flip side of things, look, the Jags deserve gold stars for their defensive performance against Carolina. Of course, it's a bottom 5 offense that they were able to squash. At the same time, the Jags showed a little bit more balance offensively. They got Travis Etienne involved, rushing for more than 140 yards. Trevor Lawrence, a little bit workmanlike. I'd like to see more out of him and potentially getting Brian Thomas Jr. involved. So with this total as high as it is, I kind of want to take the wait and see approach. But the angle that I do think is worth attacking in this game, look, Liam Cohn referenced that they have to get the ball to their superstar and Brian Thomas more frequently on routes that allow him to show his game-breaking potential. I like him over his receiving prop in this particular game. I think it's widely available in that high 60 range. I think he flirts with 80 plus and actually ends up with a receiving touchdown on Sunday.
Todd, I think a lot of people were shocked by the performance of the Dallas Cowboys in Week 1. What did we learn about them? Are they a legit threat?
I'm not going to go legit threat because I think that defense has some real concerns and glaring holes, especially on the back end now with the injury to Deron Bland. I don't know where they're going to be able to manufacture a pass rush. And if they can't do so this week against the Giants offensive line, that we'll get a little bit of reinforcements back with Andrew Thomas's potential return. It does limit what I think their ceiling can be. Now, offensively, I mean, this is a team that, Dan, you're going to love because they're going to have to mask those defensive deficiencies, throwing the football early and often. They have to get George Pickens more involved. And while fantasy owners everywhere, I'm sure, are thrilled thinking that they landed a steal in Javonte Williams, I don't think that is going to be the norm that we see from a journeyman running back. So I think Dallas a little bit overvalued this weekend against the Giants. I'm not running to back Brian Dable and company, but I want to see if Dallas's defense can hold up, allowing this team to win by margin, especially against a divisional foe.
If someone's in a survivor pool, who do you tell them to take this weekend?
So the team, actually, I'm going to take the other approach. The team that I would look to avoid, depending on the size of your survivor pool, would be the Baltimore Ravens. And the reason I say this is a little bit of game theory more than anything else. If you're in a massive pool, let's say, more than 1,000 other people that you're competing against, that's going to be the most popular pick. And while I don't think the Ravens necessarily lose, if they do go down, it's going to put you in the catbird seat. So I am always leery and kind of a philosophy that I ascribe to in Survivor. I don't like to take the biggest favorite on the board when I'm going to have opportunities to potentially use them further down the road. So I used Denver last week against the Titans, had to sweat bullets in that game for 4 full quarters. But I would look to go in a different direction than using the Baltimore Ravens here. Because, guys, it was only last year. Ravens started the season 0-1, lost the game in primetime against the Chiefs. People thought they would bounce back as more than a touchdown favorite week 2. What do? They lost outright to the Raiders as an 8.5, 9-point favorite. And this is a divisional foe that has actually had their number in recent meetings.
The San Francisco 49ers are already getting killed by injuries early in this season. They're still the favorites heading into New Orleans on the road this weekend. Do you see any upset potential there with all the injuries?
Man, I don't know what's going on up there, whether it's the training staff, whether they're a lot softer in Northern California or something along those lines. But George Kittle, the hamstring, Brock Purdy, turf toe, shoulder, could miss 2 to 5 weeks. So we get the Mac Jones experience, which I'm sure Patriots fans would love to sign up for and to see someone else suffer through. This Saints team, though, for me is hard to bet. If anything, I actually think the number has moved a little bit too far. 6.5 is where it opened. We're now down to a field goal. The totals tick down as well from 43.5 to 41. I actually think the 49ers offer a little bit of upside here as a 3-point favorite. Kyle Shanahan is going to do things that put Mac Jones in a position to excel. And while we may not necessarily know all the skill players that are able to make a difference, he still can lean on Christian McCaffrey. And I just don't trust this Saints team, especially as constructed to win games outright.
Pretty well said. Yeah, it's the New Orleans Saints. They're not a very good football team, and San Francisco has such a good coaching staff. I can definitely see that. Any props you like this week? Because, I mean, if you were a prop better in the Ravens Bills and you didn't hit every single prop, is that the first time in NFL history every single prop listed hit? Like, it was insane.
Look, it was a great day, at least going into that game for a lot of bookmakers throughout the industry. But anyone who did the things that you're not supposed to do in this racket, electing to chase their losses, trying to tie in, the full game over to a lot of the marquee players, they were rewarded for some of their bad habits. But in terms of player prop stuff that's out there, I think Saquon Barkley is going to play a big role in the game against the Chiefs, but not necessarily as a runner. I think his reception total is a shade low, over under 2.5. You do have to lay a little bit of a price to go over now. I think Saquon can be a high volume receiver, relatively speaking. And in that same game, look, a player that we saw kind of flash on the big stage against this Chiefs team last year was Jahan Dotson. We saw him get involved on that opening Thursday night game with the explosive play over the top. So I think Jahan Dotson's receiving number still a little bit too low for a guy who is the true number 3 wide receiver behind A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And if they line Dotson up on the slot, that's where Kansas City's shown a little bit of weakness. So, Dan, in honor of your 50th birthday, I'm doing nothing but picking overs. I can't possibly see how this goes awry for me.
Yeah, finally got you. Only took 10 years.
1 week, 1 week, and 1 week only. I'll be back to the under train next week, gentlemen. Come on now.
Absolutely love every second of it, Todd. Thank you so much again for joining us. I'm sure we'll see you very soon. Should be a great week too in the NFL.
Thanks,
Always
buddy.
a pleasure, gents.
Dan, where and how are you watching the Jays games this weekend?
Good question. I'll be on the couch and then got to figure out how to squeeze a Jays game viewing while trying to get around to golfing. Might have to do the old no one tell me and watch the Jays in 30. So I'm just focused on today. That's how I live.
Yeah.
I'm focused on watching tonight's game, and I know exactly where I be, and that's going to be just above my head here.
Oh, in a suspended state or in another floor of the house?
Another floor of the house.
I don't know what the
I'll
hell's
be
going on
watching
in that room, but
I'll be watching it like Spider-Man was just spread out against the walls.
producers, do not pan the camera up. There could be leather involved, and we do not want to see that here on the show. But on behalf of Mr. Dan O'Toole, my name is Kyle Andrew. You've been watching the Toronto Sports Rush channel on the Bet Rivers Network. Producer Tim, thank you for joining us. Producer Z, producer Monzo, Alex, the whole crew. It's been a pleasure. See you guys next week.